Hi again, everyone. Thank you again for being here. My name is Cornell Queen, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Marketing, Communications, and Events for Ann Arbor Spark. Let's give a round of applause for girl power here tonight. This is amazing. I'm so excited to be here, and welcome everyone who's with us virtually. For those of you who don't know, we have about 100 people online who are actually watching this as well, so this is quite a crowd. Just some things, given my role in marketing, I'd be terrible if I did not mention that this event is part of a2Tech360. It's our celebration of innovation and arts in Ann Arbor. There's still time to register for some of our events. Tomorrow morning, we're hosting Tech Talk, which is TED-style talks at the Michigan Theater starting at 10 a.m. You will leave there with a week's worth of stuff to unpack in your head. It's inspiring, it's energizing, it's free. So go to a2Tech360.com to register. Hope to see you there. Immediately following that is our Tech Trek. It's reimagined this year because of COVID. And so it's more of like a street fair style. It should be fun, a lot of energy. We have 70 companies that are really excited to show you their innovation and what they've been working on. So come on out, meet them, talk with them, and just have a great time. That's our goal for this whole week. So a little bit of housekeeping. The bar, food, please go help yourself. This should be very informal, very fun evening for everyone. So help yourself even during the conversations tonight. Without further ado, I'm really excited to introduce our first speaker, Shanley Carlton. She is interested in the way things work. From her background in the Big Three as a vehicle engineer to her experience testing and improving the user experience of cutting-edge 3D software, to her volunteer work coaching youth robotics in Detroit, Shanley understands systems, people, and how to make systems work for people. She's currently the digital creative lead and solutions architect for Cultureverse. She manages projects end-to-end through discovery, ideation, training, and implementation. Whenever you encounter her, you'll find out that she is learning, serving, and making stuff happen. So let's give her a warm welcome.
Got caught in my earring. Hoping my lipstick isn't all over my face because it's all over the mask. Thank you everyone for coming today and taking time to be here. And I see some really special people in the audience, so thank you. I have a little good luck charm here with me today. This is my coworker Matt, the bust of Matt. If you would like your own bust made, come to our gallery, Cultureverse Gallery in downtown. We can make one for you. My name is Shanley Carlton. I'm the digital creative lead and solutions architect at Cultureverse. I went to the University of Alabama, studied mechanical engineering. Michigan is now my home. I love the city of Detroit, and I'm really happy to be here. So the big thing I want you to walk away from today, or from my talk today, is I want you to feel like you're not alone, especially if you're considering a career pivot, or if you're in an industry where you are a minority and you feel as though your experiences are kind of isolated and maybe have some self-doubt as a minority in that industry. So this is my little icon for making sense of reality. So this is my physics teacher. Here, I'll use Matt to point. This is my physics teacher. He's telling me I'm really good at math and physics and I should be an engineer. And I'm like, okay, that sounds great. I want to be an engineer. I get to make stuff and invent stuff. And that's me thinking I could do everything or anything down there in the bottom corner because I had, at that point, never felt like I couldn't do anything. I was a valedictorian in my class, really smart, or felt smart. This is me as a kid, feeling like I was better than all the boys and really tough, and that was part of my identity. My dad would tell this story. Woo! My dad would tell this story about me at 5 years old in co-ed soccer where me and this boy, we head-butted, and he was crying. And I was standing there just breathing really heavily. And that was the sense of identity that I took with me into college. Okay, so this is college. And at Alabama, my mechanical engineering class was 10% female. The graduating class was 8%. And over here, so that's what the top represents, over on the left is a wrench and me reminding myself how to use it because I had never used it before I started school. And then there's a wing nut, which was the only example of a nut that I knew before starting school in engineering because I had a flower press that had a wing nut that used a wing nut. So all my designs early on in engineering used wing nuts because that was the only nut I knew. And so one thing I noticed when I first started out in engineering was that a lot of the guys, when they would talk, they seemed to all get each other in a way that I didn't fully get. And there were some expressions used, some references, where I had a really hard time visualizing what they were describing when there was like parts being put together, when they were talking about a lot of times cars. Mechanical engineering has a really strong automotive focus. And I started feeling like maybe I just was naturally not very good at engineering. And I thought I was smart up until this point, but this was it. I just wasn't very good at this. And I started to have a lot of self-doubt. And one of the things when you're one out of 10 people is female and you're kind of alone is you start to think, well, maybe, or like I started to think, well, maybe these guys are better at this than me, and maybe it's me, and maybe it's because I'm a woman. So this is where we introduce a really good engineering principle that's correlation does not mean causation, because there's a lot of things that you're going to experience in life, and you're going to create all kinds of patterns, but you can't jump to conclusions about what the cause is. So the reality of the situation was I had zero hands-on experience. I had underdeveloped spatial skills, which is a thing when you're socialized as a girl. Sometimes you don't have the same experiences that some of the men have. And I was running into some like cultural communication barriers. So here I am, still doubtful, but entertaining the idea that I may not be bad at engineering forever. And so I'm like resolved to do it, to put everything into it. So this is a graph. Don't ask me why, but I started tracking every 30 minutes of my day when I was in college. And all of these colors are different like things that I used to do. And so the bright red is all the time I spent on a project engineering team building a race car. So you can see that the bright red is like a lot of the time, and the dark red is what I would spend in school or doing schoolwork, but that really wasn't where I needed to spend my time. It was like I needed to be hands-on in the shop doing things, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So this is just the Formula SAE team. This is like a assembly that I designed. It housed our differential and our full rear drivetrain and our rear suspension, and just shows like some specs for parts that I designed. Then I started working at GM. So I had interned at GM ever since I was 18, designing wing nuts because I didn't know anything. And I started working in vehicle dynamics at the Proving Grounds. And so I assume a lot of you are from Michigan, and maybe you know a little bit about the Proving Grounds, but they're located in Milford, north of here. They're massive. That thing in the back that's like a really big square of white, that's actually like 60 plus football fields of asphalt where we do high speed testing and a lot of vehicle dynamic testing. So I started out in vehicle dynamics, which is a very car bro culture. It's a really cool job, so that's why it attracts like a lot of guys that have grown up working on cars, driving cars. It's one of the coolest jobs I think that you can even have in engineering because you're behind the wheel a lot of the time. I would go to the UP and do snow testing, do donuts. Basically, you're testing out cars at their limits on different conditions. So snow and ice, the limits hit really fast. But sometimes, you know, it would be dry surfaces too, which is what we would do at the Proving Grounds. So really cool, super interesting. Definitely felt like I didn't quite understand what everyone was saying. One of the things they would say a lot, like I would say if a car was like starting to like get out of control, I would maybe call it like wiggly, but that's not what they would say. They would say it's squirrely in the back. It's getting squirrely in the back. So you have to like know the lingo. And like it was a lot of just like talking the talk and understanding in the learning curve with that. But okay, so then this next part. So now I'm in it. I've been doing engineering for like 6 years. I threw myself into it. I felt competent. You know, I'd really like dove in, but I'm like, I want to quit. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, there's like a big world to see, and everybody I was around had been in their careers for like 20 plus years, and I'm like, if I stay here, I'm gonna be at GM for the rest of my life. So this is where you have like this bucket of like thoughts and feelings. So there's these feelings of like, well, you know, I had all these self-doubts and like I don't fit in, so you have to like decipher through all this nonsense, like, is that why I want to quit? Because that's not a good reason. But then there's all these other thoughts, like there's more out there, like I am an individual and I have like creative needs and all these other thoughts. Okay, so then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna quit because I think I have good reasons, basically. And I know it's what I wanna do, but I have all these other thoughts in my head, like I don't wanna let women down, don't wanna throw in the towel. I don't wanna let my coworkers and team down, which is why I put in my 2 weeks notice like 5 months in advance, because I was like, I need to finish my project. So I need you to know way far in advance and not give me another project, but I really need to finish it. I was worried, you know, the classic nuisance, health insurance, you know, you gotta have that. And if I thought that if I didn't leave now, that I would be there forever. So this is me talking to my dad and my mom being like, I'm going to quit and I'm going to travel while I'm young. And my dad's like, just don't touch your 401k, which I had forgotten about. And I was like, I forgot I had that. That's a really good backup plan. So then I commit to traveling. It's what I think I want to do. I start traveling. My coworkers would joke about me living in a van down by the river. I had a few like interventions where these men were like, please, Shanley, do not go live in a van down by the river. It is not safe. And I'm like, okay, thank you for that. So at the same time all this was happening, my uncle, he was getting to be a pilot for United, so he gave me standby passes for a year. Super cool opportunity. It requires a lot of flexibility, and I had it. So went to a lot of different places. And my first trip, and I love traveling. I've been to so many different places, love traveling. My first trip, I'm like crying because I realized that it's not what I wanted to do. I'm like homesick and I want to figure out what I'm gonna do next. Like here I thought I was like trying to like explore and travel, and what I really wanted was like a career pivot. Okay, so this is where iterating comes in, and I'm looking at the clock and I have like 4 more slides. But iterating, many of you have probably heard of it, especially if you're in tech. It's a really sexy word right now. Basically, lean startup method, design thinking, iterating is a cost-effective way to quickly get to a solution that actually meets problems or solves problems. So basically, you don't develop a concept all the way, you develop it just enough to test it. So that's like another thing. It felt like I was like, are you my mother to like all these different ideas and like possible career paths, because I was like really trying to figure it out. So I tried a lot of different things. I loved video editing, so I started like pursuing that more because it was something I knew I enjoyed. Started a master's program, really leaned into volunteering because I love this community center in Detroit. But I started an internship at TechTown, which is the Detroit equivalent of Ann Arbor Spark, working on my own tech idea. And that, learned a lot through that. I was like, oh, this is like creating something. I want to create like my own tech idea, but I need to learn like how to do it. So I wanted to work for a startup. This is a startup here in Ann Arbor that I worked for 3 years. It's called Saganworks. You may have heard of it. But the software creates 3D immersive experiences that are embeddable on websites, and you can open them on your phone. So anyway, when I was there, I learned that the way things work and when you want to create, which initially I thought was like gears and pulleys and like cars, there's like a huge system of understanding out there for how things work, and it involves branding, it involves building a team, it involves picking the right tools and learning all these different tools. And okay, I have 5 seconds left. So these are some things I created in my current role. Super creative, really fun, get to meet the best people, and now I'm really happy and fulfilled, and I would recommend it to everyone else.
Was just our first speaker. We're just getting started. So I want to give a shout out to Saganworks, who is actually, if you participate in our virtual tech track tomorrow, you'll get to experience their immersive technology. Very, very cool stuff. And I'm not just saying that because Shanley's sitting right there. So our next speaker, I'm so pleased to introduce you all to Priya Goyga. She's an entrepreneur, a social change maker, and an author with published work in national media. She actually currently is a contributing author to Entrepreneur. She co-founded Celsi in 2010, which is a life sciences company which develops products for cancer research in single-cell sequencing. In April 2020, Biorad Labs acquired Celsi for $165 million. So, wow, yeah. So Priya graduated from Ross with an executive MBA, adding to her master's degree in molecular biology. In the vein of others, women helping others, she mentors several Ann Arbor startups in preparing their business plan, and she currently serves on the board of several local and international nonprofits. So thrilled to hear her presentation. Let's welcome her to the stage.
Hi everyone, my name is Priya, and I think my background is already given so extensively. So I just have one slide actually today, because the main topic that I want to talk about today is how to rise from setbacks. As a person who has lived kind of like a unconventional life, because entrepreneurs don't really have a set life, one fixed life where you go from one to next step. And I want to share my journey, how I I came out of several setbacks in my life, and how I want to tell that how if I can do it, any one of you can do it too. So I want to begin my talk by saying that I think there are three types of people in this world. The first ones are the lucky ones. I call them the thick-skinned ones. They are the leaders who don't, take any offense, insults roll off their back. They're the lucky ones. The second ones are, of course, they don't even want to get into the battlefield. And the third ones, I call them the sensitives. They are people like me who feel everything deeply. Every single thing that anybody else can, let it go, I feel it to the core of my heart. So when I got married at the age of 22, I came from India. When I lost my identity. I didn't know in a new country, I had no relatives except I knew my husband. And then I did my master's in molecular biology. I got into my first job as an intern at Experian Therapeutics. And on the first day, my boss asked me, Priya, what do you want to do in this life? And I replied, sir, when I become someone one day, I want to make a difference in this world. And he said, Priya, you are someone right now. Why don't you start from today? That day kind of changed my life because till that day, I didn't think of myself as anyone. I always thought that if only I was at this stage, I can make a difference. But that day I realized, hey, all of us are someone. All of us, I am someone. And so, that day kind of gave me that confidence. And, I put my heart, my soul into my first job at Experian. It was a drug development company. But at the end of internship, I didn't get the job. That's how it happens in life, right? I was a straight A student in India. And I thought, life goes straightforward for people who are good in studies. Many women actually do better in school than the boys because the classrooms are set. All we had to do is study and we get the result. In real life, that never happens. You can work hard, you can do everything right, but sometimes things don't go your way. And the first setback, big setback in my life professionally was when I didn't get that job, dream job that I was looking for. And I came back home, my husband was not in the home, I had nobody to go to. I went through hell. I called my husband, who was in a different town. I said, I don't know what to do. I lost everything. And he said, Priya, stop wallowing in self-pity and do something about it. And the whole night, I went through deep sadness. But I said, you know what? I'm not going to be sad about it. I want to do something about it. So I called up the other intern. We were two in that Experian Therapeutics. We were fighting for the same job. Both of us didn't get. So I called him. I said, you know what? I have decided what we want to do. Come to my house. And I called another friend from Eastern Michigan, and I said, I want to start a company. And they said, did you have an idea? And I said, no, we will build from scratch. So I actually didn't have any idea. All I wanted was that we will get together, I will get together a team, and we'll do it from scratch. And that is why we called it at that time de novo sciences, meaning building from scratch. We didn't have any idea. We didn't, know what we wanted, to go. So we started from scratch. We did our own, strength and weakness. And, we went through our own, steps of iteration of what to actually do. And all we knew as a common purpose was that we wanted to make a difference in this world. And, our first idea was malaria detection. And we wrote a beautiful plan for 2 months. That was our first focus. We came up with this great idea to detect malaria, and we thought we were very smart. So we sent it in for Bill and Melinda Gates Award. That was our main goal of the whole company, actually. I was paying my internship money to the other two co-founders, and I was cooking them lunch also, so I could, save money for them for lunch. And those 2 months, we ate, we slept that plan, and at the end of it, we didn't win it. It was a $500K loss. The whole team, my money was running out. I was upset. All three of us had our own space. That was our first failure as a team. And once again, we were lucky because my husband was a entrepreneur. So he came to us and he said, you know, team, limit your sadness of failure to a time limit. Grieve about your, your failure, but get back to work again. You can do it. And that's what we did. We respected our sadness because we just lost something that we put so much of energy into. We wrote, this time we didn't think, we were not proud and in our own clouds that we are so good. This time we went out to our community. We asked, hey, we have limited strengths. Can you help us? And they did. We saw how we could improve. And with that, work in 1 year, we won the world's largest business plan, 500K Accelerate Michigan. So from failure, we again rebuilt. It feels really, really bad. But there is a word in our startup culture. It's called pivoting. Many a times people waste, time. It's called sunk cost fallacy, where we put so much emotion into a project, into something we cannot get over it. But as I've been saying, in life, you do not get what you want all the time. What we have to do is let go of that and build something new from it. Build something better, maybe even. I'll tell you, after about a decade in my startup, the startup that I built from scratch, from my own hands, the startup that I created like my own baby, my own child, I loved it. But after, 9 years, the company was going from, the research phase to the, commercial phase, and I was not a good fit anymore. One day, the board let me know in one day that, it would be better if I, get off the company that I started. I came back home. You can imagine how it feels to a founder who created something from scratch. That's the most horrible night of my life. Some founders stretch this, time frame of letting go of their company. I wanted to not prolong it. I wanted to do it one day. That night, I told my husband and my kids to stay away from me because I wanted the time to myself. I can tell you, my friends, it was a dark moment. It was a setback that you cannot imagine. It's like giving away your own love, You don't understand unconditional love till the moment you have to give away your own love. And for me, for 9 years, I hadn't ate, slept, or drunk anything except my own company. Every day that I went to work was not for work. Every day I went for a mission to do something. And I was asked to let go of it. I can tell you how it feels at that moment. For many founders don't say it. We feel worse than death. As I said, I'm a sensitive. Everything, I take it to soul. That night, I faced my own darkness. My own darkness, it goes through because all women know it. We are we are mothers. We have the potential to give birth. But creators also have a destructive feeling. I also went through feelings where I wanted to destroy my own company. I felt like if I can't have it, no one can have it. But my dear friends, the whole night I fought with my own darkness. There was nobody else to blame except for my own darkness. At the end of it, I burnt my own weakness. I burnt my own dark feelings. I realized I loved Chelsea more than anything else. I'm not gonna destroy it. I'm gonna take such a step that not only the employees get, can live with their head held high, I can go out with my head held high too. So the next day I walked into the, town hall meeting. I said, I'm not sad today of leaving this company. I'm going out with my head held high. And I want this company to grow. I want to give this company to grow. And that's what happened. The new team had the capability that I did not have. They took the company to exit. And I have no regrets. I came out of it, and I think, I didn't destroy any relationship. I didn't, till the moment I was in the company, I was on a mission. Every dollar that we got from the investors, we used it for good use. And I could reinvent. I got the chance. At that point when I was letting go, in that night when I had to let go of my own baby, I felt like I don't want to live anymore. But I reinvented. See, for sensitives, we have to let go of our own weakness. You know, we are not thick-skinned, we feel it. So I reinvented myself. I enrolled myself at U of M Ross to do my executive MBA. I started writing in national media. I could have never found my passion of writing if I was stuck in in the startup, because in my startup, I realized looking back, I was obsessive, I only focused on the startup. So that is how I think, that's what I want to say today, that if we sensitives who cannot, take anything lightly, I cannot take anything lightly, but that also gives me, I'm an empath too, I can feel other people's pain. But there is a way that we can all get out of our own failures, our own weaknesses. That is the only thing in our control, to be honest. I don't blame anyone for my setbacks in life today. I have always, tried to reinvent, tried to get over, and, create new ways of measuring success. Why should we measure success in the way that is defined for us? For me, out of Celsius, I'm very, very happy that I let the company thrive. I let all the relationships thrive. And I can say that I have never cheated, never taken even $1 out of, investors to put in something that they didn't want to invest. And so I want to, I think, end my talk by, I have 2 minutes, but I can keep on going. But, I love a quote from of Rocky Balboa. He says that the winners of this world, to be a winner in this world, it doesn't matter how hard you can hit. The winners are decided by how hard you can get hit and still rise up. I think that's a big lesson I have learned in life. Nothing is straightforward. Seriously, people, I don't know if for you life is straightforward. For me, there are a lot of obstacles, because every time you want to create a new change in this world, you are going to face obstacles. Hey, if change was so easy, our world will be a perfect place. It is not. It requires hard work. It requires people to get over their own weakness and still fight for the better things in life. So dear friends, that's what I would like to finish it with, that, rise through your own weaknesses, rise through your own setbacks. We all go through our, dark periods. Love yourself. We all have our own weaknesses and strengths, and still we are humans. We are still united, because of pain, because of strength. So, whenever, I say that because I know pain, I can go to another human being and I can confidently say, I understand, sister. I understand, brother, because I have gone through it too. And with that, I want to hug everyone. Because, none of our lives is easy. The moment we are born in this world, somewhere we have to struggle, that's for sure. Whether it's family, it's job, but we are all united. We are all fighting. Don't give up. Each of us has our inner resources to build something up, even if everything is gone from you. Don't ever think when everything is lost, everything is lost. No. As long as we have our spirit inside, we can build something new again. And thank you.
I wasn't expecting to cry at this event. I don't think I was alone in that. Our third speaker for this evening is Chris Gibbons. She is a serial entrepreneur whose passion is partnering with inventors of transformative technology to drive innovation to the marketplace. I feel like that's a fancy way of saying you help inventors make money. She brings over 27 years of operating and fundraising experience to early stage companies, both as an investor and as part of entrepreneurial management teams. Together with other founders, Chris has launched 14 new ventures and has raised over $85 million in startup and early stage capital. Chris currently serves as the Chief Administrative Officer of Fusion Coolant Systems, a company dedicated to bringing clean, sustainable machining processes to a variety of industries. She's a member of the Capital Community Angels, is an advisory board member of MSU's Center for Venture Capital, and U of M's Accelerate Blue Fund, and the Pinkert Acceleration Fund at U of M. She graduated with an MBA from Wayne State and a BA from Michigan State University. I might get divorced if my husband doesn't hear me say, "Go Green." I went to Alma. We don't even have a football team, so go Green. Without further ado.
Can everybody hear me okay? Boy, I gotta tell you, following these two ladies is amazing. You guys have great stories. I hope I can tell at least something that's interesting. I will say that as a serial entrepreneur, I would say that my career has been all about learning. It's just constant learning, and so I learned so much from just the two of you tonight. So thank you so much for giving us your words of wisdom. I'd like to start actually with my why. I actually am stealing this from a friend of mine who does this when he presents his company and his executive management team talks about their why. It's really powerful, I think, to get a window into somebody's personal life and what motivates them. And so I'll just say that my why is my family. I do all that I can to make my family proud of me. My husband and I are parents to 3 sons, and I think it's really kind of interesting when I think about women in tech and being the mother of 3 boys, how I really look to them as helping us solve gender equity, that they can be part of the solution down in the next generation. And so I'm really pleased to have those 3 boys' input when it comes to talking about gender topics, and now 3 daughters-in-law as well, as this wedding now cinched the last daughter-in-law into the family, and also a grandbaby. So I want to make them proud of me is my why. So as Jen said, I went to Michigan State and Wayne State. I also will add to my educational background just time at Ernst & Young. I think from a foundation in the accounting realm, having an auditor's training was actually really helpful. But then came the real education. I'll say working with early stage companies, startup companies, undercapitalized companies, takes you on a roller coaster that really educates you into just the business world. So I just want to talk a little bit about my journey here. I'd say that my entrance into operations and applied research started with an undercapitalized family-owned company where I learned how to aggressively collect accounts receivable and learned how to delicately manage with vendors when it came to cash management, so that was a true education. And then I moved into research where, as you can see, I'm the only non-tech person on this panel. You know, I'm kind of the bean counter of the group. But moving into the Michigan Biotechnology Institute, where I was surrounded by PhDs that knew a lot about ag biotech, I was completely intimidated, first off, but learned a ton about research and how to take applied research and move that research into commercialization settings. And actually, with working with a team from Seaflower Ventures, the MBI group, we assessed our portfolio of applied research opportunities, figured out which ones were closest to commercialization, built business plans around what the market was, how to raise funds, how to actually bring these technologies to market. And over the course of about a 3-year project with the Seaflower Ventures group, we launched 3 companies out of MBI, and that's where I got the startup bug. I just really loved being able to help create these opportunities that didn't really exist but for in a petri dish sometimes. So then I went to Seaflower Ventures as my intro to venture capital and learned a ton about structuring deals, how to assess technologies, and really the people side of it too. Building teams is the most important thing in terms of starting companies. I then went on into investing, managing, and scaling venture-backed companies through Ardesta, a venture fund that's focused on small tech, MEMS, microsystems, nanostructures that really were applied across a variety of industries, but really to help products become faster, cheaper in the realm of telecommunications, medical devices, and a variety of other industries. And from there, I actually joined one of the portfolio companies of Ardesta's called Sensicor, which had a lab and a chip that was used for testing water. And we scaled that company, moved it straight from a University of Michigan setting into the company, and then ultimately into the commercial realm. And we sold it ultimately to GE, where I got the really interesting job of integrating a 30-person company into General Electric. So that was really great learning experience when the teams of the integration team way outnumbered the company that they were acquiring. So that was really fun. And so then I had the opportunity to work with venture investors, a venture fund here in Ann Arbor and offices in Madison, Wisconsin as well, and partner with Jim Addicks there to look for opportunities of interest for the fund, but then also something that could be of interest to me in terms of being part of the management team, and fell in love with the technology also from the University of Michigan that was based on histotripsy, a technique that is using ultrasound therapeutically. And it was amazing to be able to think about taking this ultrasound device and to be able to pulse the ultrasound and actually treat tissue non-invasively, basically becoming a whole different surgical category in and of itself, non-invasive surgery. And so that, when Priya talks about co-founding a company and the birth of your technology, although I wasn't a technical person, I was part of basically a 8-person founding team, it really felt like giving birth. I mean, we took the technology straight out of the university, designed it under design controls because this is a medical device, wanting to always make sure that everything we did had patient safety in mind, but ultimately wanting to be effective for the patient. And so got that all the way to the point of treating in clinical studies patients with liver tumors. They did very well, and the company actually is continuing those studies now, looking towards getting the technology into the commercialization realm, being able to get FDA clearance. So, but similar to Priya's story, I also got to the point of the commercialization window at Histosonics, where as a founding member of the team, I went from president to interim CEO, and then got to the point where we needed really a CEO that could take the company commercial. And I realized that that wasn't me. I was much more of a startup founder and handed the reins over to a commercialization CEO, but ended up staying with the company for about 18 months after that. There are a lot of people that said, why did you do that? Why would you step back from a CEO role and then now be, second or third in command? Is because, again, the technology was amazing. We had this tremendous mission at the company to really affect patient care, and that was the important thing. We needed to really move that technology forward. I had committed to the team, and I wanted to see it be successful, and I felt like being engaged still with the company was going to be helpful, but needing to be that person in charge was not really, that wasn't my role. So that was a really great learning experience, and it did feel, though, that after about 18 months, I was the birth mother watching an adoptive parent raise my child. And so I finally did step back. I still continue to consult for the company, but really I then moved on to fusion, which, as Jen mentioned in the introduction, amazing technology, uses reclaimed CO2 that, interestingly, when it's heated and compressed, becomes a tremendous lubricant and coolant that can be used in a variety of machining applications in a very, very environmentally friendly way. And it dramatically reduces the exposures that machinists have in conventional machining, where they have so many lung issues and skin issues from conventional machining fluids. It's amazing. So I'm feeling like there's also this great, powerful mission that Fusion is underway right now. And then that I'm also part of the Capital Community Angels. So in a tech-heavy environment, I've had a variety of different roles, all non-technical. So I'm kind of feeling like a fish out of water when I hear these great technical folks here. But I guess the important point, and in a variety of different industries as well. But the important point here is to look at those challenges as a non-technical person, suffering the constant learning curve, working in a capital-constrained environment, and also recognizing that I have limited subject matter people in my network. Going from different industries, there's not a ready-made network that I can tap into. So thought I would share with you some of the strategies that I've had to try to overcome those. First of all, I think that in these very high-tech environments, you need to read. You need to do your homework. You need to do your research, and I tried to read every paper I could about ultrasound and really get schooled in the physics side of it as much as I can. I also found that mutual mentorship was really helpful because there's folks in a team. I mean, everything is a team sport and when it comes to startups. And so the technical folks were also very interested in learning about venture capital structure and marketing plans and budgets, et cetera. So I found actually partnering with my technical counterparts and saying, I'll tell you about, capital structures if you tell me about physics. were very helpful, and also very helpful to the team building environment as well. In a capital constrained environment, I think managing to budgets is really important. Sometimes you can't really predict as well as you'd like to, and when you're blazing new ground, but having a budget and a plan, even if you veer from it, at least you know you're veering from it as opposed to just sort of haphazardly going along your way. So that really helps in capital constrained environments. And then as far as the network, you know, I know that a lot of times in these kinds of group, we talk about mentorships and networks, and that's really, it's so important and so true. Asking people for intros is really important. And frankly, when you have an exciting technology, sometimes it can be scary to think that I want to talk to the chairman of medicine at Mayo Clinic or whatever. It's this big, lofty title, but interesting technology oftentimes gets those types of people actively engaged because they want to be engaged in something that's really important. So just, you know, I don't like to give advice, but I do like to talk about themes that worked for me. And I would say, for me, I have a natural curiosity, so I like to embrace that and learn how things work, like Shanley. I also think it's important to find a passion and purpose, and when you think about the rocky roads of startup worlds, being able to have that higher purpose, knowing that you are going after something big, helps you really get through those tough days. Integrity is super important, and for me, being able for people to be able to trust that I'll do what I said is really important and just part of my, I guess, my DNA. I think it's also important to be super authentic. I can't be, you know, the commercialization CEO, and I'm not going to try. I think because I want to just be myself, and my new daughter-in-law says, "You be you," and I agree with her. And then lastly, be magnanimous, which sounds maybe a little, I don't know, not condescending, but I just, you know, the whole notion of saying, when you're in a position where, like the whole stepping back from the Histosonic CEO role, I try very much to look to the higher purpose and say, let you have a win, because it's a win for everybody, even if it necessarily is not, you know, advancing my marketing potential or whatever. So I think that really helps from the standpoint of just kind of, again, looking for the higher purpose. So again, just some thoughts and themes that work for me, not necessarily advice. So that was it for my talk. I do want to just say that we're going to take a little break now. Take a 15-minute break, and would love for you to refresh your drink, and then we'll be prepared to do our fireside chat. All right.
All right, everyone, I don't want to interrupt what I know is really fun, and I wonder if you're all like, I don't even know where to start with what we've heard. That's what the Spark crowd was doing back there. Before we go back to our programming, I want to let's give a round of applause for our wait staff tonight. Right? Yes. And very, very selfishly, I want to give a round of applause to my team. We are running on fumes. Thank God for mac and cheese. So, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce the moderator of our fireside chat this evening, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. Yeah. Hold my pearls! Yes. So, D2 represents Michigan's 12th district in the U.S. House of Representatives. She's a member of the House Committee on Energy and Commerce. And in that role, she is a leader on efforts to grow manufacturing, improve access to quality, affordable health care, support seniors and veterans, and to protect our Great Lakes. She's recognized as one of the 25 hardest working members of Congress. She's focused on forging bipartisan solutions that support Michigan's families. Before being elected to Congress, Debbie worked in the auto industry for more than 3 decades, where she was the president of General Motors Foundation and a senior executive responsible for public affairs. She's also chairman of Wayne State University's Board of Governors and continues to fight every day to make education affordable and accessible for all. Let's welcome Debbie and our panelists back to the stage for a fireside chat.
Any better? Yes. Okay. I wear my mask, and then they were all like, well, if you're wearing your mask, I'm in too many places indoors. I do not want to go back to being isolated, quarantined, or stuck at home. And I think you lead by leading, so I wear my mask indoor or out, so I never have to go into quarantine again. So, just
Amen. All right.
gonna say that. And I can't, your stories, all three of you. First of all, the other reason I'm wearing my mask is their lipstick was perfect, and mine never looks that good. But all three of your stories were really inspiring and, quite frankly, touched places in my own career. I am not old, but I am seasoned. And each of the stories brought back memories. I think that this panel is one of the, I go to a lot of stuff, let's be honest. And this inspired me more than almost anything I've been to in a long time. Your stories really, and were really good stories for all of us to learn from. So thank you. I really want to say that. And I get, the other thing I'm going to say, and then I really want to get, this is a fireside chat, not quite sure where the fire is, but let's have a drink instead to keep us warm inside, is that, as women, we can feel isolated. It's been funny because, it's not funny, it's really sad. When I interviewed for my job at General Motors, the man said to me, why would a woman want to work at General Motors? And you can probably, but it's much, you're younger than, yeah, you do get it. And, I've talked about a lot of things that have been happening on our college campuses, and even talking about, I was stalked by my first boss that I ever had, and got told that, hey, 14th floor likes him. This will show you how old I am. 14th floor was probably like not even, we were at the rent center at that point. So, and we all got to learn how to deal with it. And women, my other bugaboo as I start this, then I'm going in, is women need to support women. It is the singular most important thing. When I started, there weren't a lot of women. I am not that old. But, actually, what's really sort of sad is that how recent all of these stories are. But, there was one woman. Okay, so we got to hire a woman. We got this diversity issue. And women felt like we were in competition with each other instead of supporting each other. And here's the reality. The old boy network's alive and well because they do support each other. They play golf on the golf course. We got to get something better than golfing to, do the networking. But we need to network with each other. We need to support each other. And that when you do well, we all do better. And I'm where I am because the women that went before me and opened those doors wider, and our job is to put our hand down and help more up that staircase. And that is the one message I would give to all of you tonight. So, and I want to thank Spark. I really need to thank Spark for doing this and for bringing us together. And I hope everybody's making relationships tonight, networking, meeting people that are going to help you down the road. I'm sorry, I was texting a little, but there's a little thing called debt ceiling and Build Back Better, and we're trying to get it done, and we need to get it done. But let me ask a question of each of you to start out. Shanley, you've worked in robotics, design, and for the autos. Is there a project that you were most passionate about, or if you could, would want to revisit?
Is my mic on? Oh, it is. Okay. I was afraid I wasn't going to know how to turn it on, and then everyone was going to judge me. Okay, it's on, though. What was I most passionate about? The project team that I mentioned in college, it's a toss-up between the robotics team I mentored for, because there's so many other levels to that relationship, because you're working with, it's in Detroit. I made a lot of great friends doing that, both the students I mentored and the other mentors there. So kind of comes down to people. But when it comes to the technical side, like the part that, it's when you're working long hours in a shop, it's like, I don't know, there's something really special about it. It's, you like see the fruits of your labor, you're physically creating something. You feel seasoned after it's done. Like I can look back and I'm like, oh, I did that, and I feel really proud of it. And you're on a team, so you're not there alone. But probably it all goes down to like team and maybe formula and robotics.
Being part of a team does matter.
It does matter.
You were so healthy about the way you talked about your career. I have to say that to you. I loved it. I'm taking you on the road with me. So, Priya, after leaving your company, you've been serving as a mentor and as an angel investor. What advice would you share with someone at the precipice of selling their company and moving on like you needed to? Although two of you did have the sort of different experience, but.
So selling your company to an investor. There are multiple steps where you're selling, right? A company has to, sell it to the investors in the first beginning. They are the buyers. Then you have to sell it to the customers. Then you have to exit. So I guess the question was, how do you sell it to an investor? The first.
Or how do you even make that, how do you
how,
know
how
when?
Do you, how do you go from, having a concept, beginning, and then going to a, investor to sell it? The first thing that you need to do is figure out, are you solving a real problem? That's it. That's the core of, that's what you have to, sell your customers and your investors. Same thing. And even the last buyers. If you're solving a real market problem, there you have it. Many times that's the problem with entrepreneurs. We are so much in love with our idea, we are so much in love with our technology, we do not figure out if it is a real problem. Once we figure out that our technology works or our idea actually works as a product or service, and there are buyers where we can go and sell and scale it, you have a good business plan not only to sell it to investors, but to your customers and to your final exit. And that's what I learned the hard way. We were trying to take risk both in the product innovation and the market innovation. But once you have a good product and market fit, you got that magic thing. That's the magic thing. You can sell it to investors, you can sell it to anybody. So true market product fit or service fit.
Thank you, Priya. And I want to comment on some things that you said at the very beginning. There are different people in life. There are the thick-skinned, and there are the super, whatever you call them, and then there's sensitive people.
Yes.
You know what I think women's strength is? Most of us are sensitive.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And, I found myself walking in one night to something that I was late at because I had been taking care of some issues with my husband. And I almost started to apologize. And then I said, you know what? I'm not going to apologize. You know what women are? We keep multiple problems in the air. We keep balls in the air. We look at things, we do feel, and use that we are different than men. Sorry, men that are here, but we are different than you. And we're used to having to juggle all kinds of things. The world is still such that we keep we're still the ones that run a lot of the household. If we've got kids, we're taking care of the kids, or you're sharing that with it. But we don't let the testosterone take over. We try to solve problems, and we focus on solving problems. That's a strength. Embrace your sensitivity. Look, there are nights I go home and I cry. Lately, I've been crying a lot. But you know what? That's who we are. And I think we don't want to become, we work in a man's world sometimes. Someday we're going to say we work in I don't know what world we want to say we work in, but we don't want to lose that empathy and that compassion and that sensitivity to each other. So I want to say that, and I think that the way you talked about that today was both of you were fabulous. I want that all three of you, Chris, you're fabulous. So Chris, this process is something you've done again and again, as you said yourself, and you bring a very strong background to the process. But as you said, you don't bring a tech background. What do you look for an opportunity, or how do you look at something? What makes you choose that opportunity or the company you're choosing to work with?
That's a great question, because again, from the non-technical perspective, sometimes it's hard for me to be able to look at something and be able to instantly know from a technical due diligence perspective that it's, an aha moment. But it really, to your point about team, Debbie, I think that if you have people that are so impassioned about their technology, and, I oftentimes are like on somebody else's coattail of a vision. I mean, I know that you're supposed to have your own vision, but when it comes to being a support person in a technical world, I have to be on somebody else's vision coattails. And so if I see somebody that has a really broad vision, and, you have to do your diligence on those people that have the technical skills, have the invention, have the idea, and validate that what they're saying is true, and then you embrace their vision, and now everybody is now looking for that higher purpose. That's kind of the process that I go through, is really looking at the team and making sure that the team believes in the mission.
That's great. So let me ask all three of you, because, we're talking about women in tech tonight. How would you improve equity and diversity in the tech field?
Who wants to go first? Okay. That's a really tough question, because I think, you listen to the stories like Debbie that you had said about just kind of the people that were overt about their kind of challenging women in the field, especially at GM. And I think that a lot of times I've actually had a much more subtle, potentially, inclusion issue, I guess I will call it that. And so sometimes, for me, especially in a leadership position, when it comes to equity, let's talk about salaries as an example. There's a lot of data out there that says women are paid less than men. And I was really just really struggling with that, because when I've hired people, I look at the data. I try to have the data tell me what's appropriate to pay somebody. And then this person could be a Joe, or could be a Mary, or to me, who we're hiring and what they have on their resume in terms of skills and experience and educational background, and whether there's a fit, should then go to be a data-driven decision. And so sometimes I scratch my head and try to figure out, how is it that there's so much veiled discrimination when it comes to paying women less? Because at least what I've tried to be in a leadership position, I try to let data tell me how to pay somebody, and that doesn't really include a gender aspect to it. So it doesn't really answer your question, but I think that using data, I guess, is really an important part of gender equality.
So I have a kind of weird view of diversity. To me, true diversity to me, my perspective is, good people come in all colors, shape, and, ethnicity. Bad people too.
It's true.
So the sadness is, good people are busy defining our differences, focusing on who's a woman, who's a man, black, white, whatever. We are focusing on those things. All the while, the bad people are everywhere too. They are diverse too. So we focus on the wrong things, on our differences, while, the bad things keep on going. We don't make a change because we are focusing so much on our differences, we are not focusing on the right issues. Can we do the right innovation? Can we save someone's life? But, what we focus on is differences. I think everybody, if we all agree, the truth is good people are everywhere, bad people too. They are diverse too. And we should accept that. That's humanity, right? There is no good race, no good thing, no best woman. All of us are human. And if we focus on the right things, good people should be focusing on the right things, not the wrong things. That's what I think diversity is.
So I don't have the solution. I was asked this earlier today, and I realized that I don't have the answer. So I still don't have the answer, but I do have a couple thoughts. One is, I really think that there's been a huge shift, even during COVID, but probably prior to that too, where the power is in the employee's hand to choose where they want to work. So I guess I don't have the answer, but you will find it where diverse people are going because they're making the decision to go there. And I know that if I didn't feel like a good fit somewhere, I just felt like it was I knew it was my right and my independence to go find somewhere else. And I didn't need to necessarily fix it. And this is just my perspective. I wanted to find somewhere that I felt like a good fit. So that's one thing. And then I did have a director at GM before I left, because I put in my notice so far in advance. He was like, you know, what can we do to retain young people? Because GM is still having like a really big issue with people early in their career leaving, and they've leaned so long on like sustained knowledge in their employees. And we talked for like an hour, and I also didn't have an answer for him, because there was nothing that he could have offered me to stay. I could have stayed, I could have had like health insurance for a year and just been on leave as long as I didn't go to a competitor. But I wanted like a clean cut, and so I like didn't accept that. And I just wanted something different. Like it was really hard. I didn't have an answer for him either.
But I think it's exciting because we're not talking ages here, but thank God it is getting better than when some of us were starting out. And there are more choices. We didn't even have that. I mean, you couldn't find jobs. You couldn't. So it's getting better. We're not there yet, though. Yeah, we're going to keep working it, though, and that's what we're doing here. So let me ask all of you, what advice would you give to people who are considering leaving their jobs to transition to a new industry, a new career? They got that feeling you had, it is time to move on.
Okay, so I will say that it doesn't happen right away. Like even working at a tech company after working in automotive, I started doing quality assurance. I did testing for Saganworks. That's how I got into Saganworks. And I was leaning on my engineering background for that, because I had done vehicle testing. And what I really wanted to do something more creative. I had other aspirations, but your credentialing really affects what you end up doing. It's what your experience is, which is why iterate as fast as you can, because your experience is just going to keep building if you stay in one place. But what I hoped was that by going to a startup, I could try other things. And so when you do ask for other opportunities, like say I want to do more of the marketing side or more of the user experience side, and you vocalize it, you do start to build those experiences. So my way of pivoting wasn't to go back to school to try something new. It was to go into a small company and learn lots of things to try to then go into something new. But Priya, I know you went back to school, so yes. Maybe you should talk about that form of pivoting.
Yeah. To me, I think everybody should be strategic about changes. Don't put all the eggs in the basket. So always, like we talk about in risk, have, diversity even in your planning. For me and my husband, like one of us has a stable job while the other one, see, I am always the wild one. I can never be in a job. I'm not fit for a job, right? So I'm the creative one. So we have 2 kids. So whenever you take a risk, be very strategic about it. There is nothing shameful about being don't just, if you are in a comfy job and you don't have another support, you have kids, you can't just leave everything and, go. So try a part-time, passion. See if you like the change. See if you can. And you know what? If you really like that job, you want it from your heart, go for it. Who's going to stop you? Take it. Take the risk. However, start slow and be strategic about your change. That's how to take it. If possible, have another spouse or somebody take the easy, the stable job, and you do the experiment, or the other one does it. So, yeah. That's how it is in life.
I had no strategy. Just so we were aware, I had no other financial backing, and I quit cold turkey with no other thing lined up. I had my savings to live off of, and I knew that I was going to take a massive pay cut, and I did. I'm still happy with all my decisions, but it came with a pay cut. It came with like a lot of other things. So the pivots are not glorious. They get better, but they're not immediately good. Yeah.
But go for it. If you really want something, you tried it, you just cannot do the, like me. I just cannot do the regular things anyways. So I have no other choice. Go for it.
So a friend of mine called that sequencing your risk, right? Yep. Trying to look at who's got the stable job, who doesn't. If I could quote one of Shanley's slides where when she was thinking about changing careers, I think it was am I doing this for the right reason? Am I thinking about this the right way? And she has great art that showed all of that. I'm not describing it very well. But I think that, in the thinking about making a change, I think it really is important to try to understand your motivation. And so that's what, I know that a lot of these conversations talk about mentorship, and I think mentorship is really important to be able to talk to somebody about your thoughts and what is it that your motivation is for making a change. I also think, going back to the data side of what I was talking about before, having some data is also kind of interesting. When I was thinking about making a change a couple years ago, I actually took a test called a VQ profile. I don't know if anybody's ever done that. It's like or a Clifton Strength Finder or those kinds of tests, just to help me level set, again, the things that I think I'm good at, the things that I think I might have blind spots, et cetera. And so just kind of thinking about what I'm thinking about, is this a good fit for me at this stage in my career, at these experiences that I've had? And so that data actually was super helpful in sort of framing it for me as I thought about my next step.
Okay, so we have 4 minutes and 11 seconds left. So I wanted to get to more stuff, so I'm going to ask you 2 questions at the same time. And you know what, we can probably go over a little and they won't kill us. But if you could go back in time and tell yourself, what's something important you wish you had known earlier that you could learn? And at what time in your life was that, and what would you say? And then I want to know, what's next for you guys? What projects are you working on? So I want to take you back and forward.
Okay, so you talk about being seasoned, Debbie. I think I'm the most seasoned on the panel here. So, if I go back to my 40-year-old self, I would say work out. Get your ass out of bed and go run in the morning. You will feel better, trust me. I think that I was in so much of this gotta take the kids, gotta get this job, gotta do this, whatever. And I know that a lot of terms these days is self-care. And I think at the time I thought it was more of a luxury, like I was doing something that was being selfish. But I feel so much better and I have so much better energy and so much better focus when I do work out. So I wished I would have worked out and eaten way better in my 40-year-old self. And then what's next is still developing. We shall see. Stay tuned.
Okay, wait, I have to think. Dang it, I feel shook now. Okay, what would I have told myself? So I would have gone, so the thing, like I mentioned the making sense of reality thing, it's another way of saying like imposter syndrome, but it's the way I see it. And I think that earlier I would have realized that with practice and experience, I could get to anywhere I wanted to go, and it's just a matter of where I wanted to spend the time and energy. That would have been a good realization because there was a lot of like wasted time, I think, in the not being sure. And then for where I want to go next, I still want to create something, and I'd love to found a company one day, and I hope that I'm learning lots of things right now where I'm at to help me be able to do that. That's what I'd like to do.
And that's your next project then, too.
Yeah, that's my next project.
If I want to go back and teach myself, I would teach myself not to get into the sunk cost fallacy mentality. As I said, I'm an emotional person. I do everything from heart. Even in my startup, I was so emotionally involved, and I thought it's a strength, but if I look back, I didn't know how to give up even if something is failing. I can't. I have, at Celsi, I clung on to something because I put so much of passion and energy, but remember, business is business. It doesn't matter how much you love, how much energy you put. People need to know the art of pivoting at the right moment. Let it go. Sometimes letting go is the easiest thing for the soul even, I would say. You will feel relieved. Instead of, wasting your time, energy, everything, just because you love something so much. So yes, sunk cost fallacy was something that I was guilty of in my startup, and I would tell myself, go back and, it's okay, you wasted, you put so much of your passion, doesn't matter. If it doesn't sell in the market, nobody's gonna buy it. Move to another project, so.
What's next? We all want to know.
So as I said, my career is always dramatic. It's never in a straight line. What I want never happens. My goal, I think I'm a very goal-oriented person. I want to go here. Always something happens, it goes here. For example, I really wanted to, for example, in the beginning of the year, I wanted to start a company with a few of my friends. And of course, we fizzled out. It didn't happen, that company. So that was, a bummer in the beginning of the year. But I didn't know that, again, the same theme. I used that, that failure feeling, and I started writing. I'm like, I need to write. I need to, So I started sending it, and then Entrepreneur accepted my articles. So now I write. I found my passion. So you see, things keep on evolving. And now I write. I work for nonprofits. I give back. It's like passing on the kindness. What I get, I want to give back. I'm also on the board of a startup. But I would like to say entrepreneurs are kind of like drug addicts. So we have adrenaline, this thing. We are kind of like junkies because we are so used to the fast pace. Life at Chelsea was fast. Outside of it, I'm kind of adjusting to the kind of the normal life, which seems slow to me. And I am learning to adjust right now. This is my adjusting period. But I know in my heart I want to go back to my...
So sorry. So Debbie, I know we're getting low, or I think we're behind time. Yeah. But can we ask you that same question?
Yeah.
What you would tell you?
Great question.
There are lots of things that I would, I think you all have really summed it up. I mean, when I look back at, Mary Barr and I started at GM around the same time, actually, and we're friends, and we're sort of the people that ran around the CEO, and you remember those days, Chris. But I wish that I had understood the importance of women supporting each other earlier in my career. I think that's really important. And I also wish that we were, and it's one of the things we need to overcome these stereotypes of women in tech, math and science isn't a woman's, like hell it isn't. We do better in math and science than the boys do, and we got to teach the girls not to be afraid of it. That's a strength that we do. But I also, I'm not that old, but it's the the fact of the matter is, the things that are our strength, we hid. We didn't, you couldn't, look, we shouldn't cry at work every day, but I think that sensitivity actually makes you better at work, but you couldn't do that when, women had to be cold and it's, so I think we need to embrace who we are as women. I think we need to support each other. And I hope nobody leaves this room without having made at least one new friend and contact that you're going to stay in touch with, and you're going to support each other and look towards your future together and how you can help each other.
Amen.
Amen. So with that, okay. So we went 3 minutes and 13 seconds over, but you'll forgive us? And women shouldn't ask for forgiveness. We should do what we want and ask for...
Sorry.
That is my favorite phrase, is always ask for forgiveness. After. So I want to say the other night I have two daughters. I have actually 3 daughters, but 2 little ones who are 7 and 9. And watching a show about space the other night, my daughter said, wow, they went to the moon, that's so cool. And she's asking me, how many people have been to the moon? How many women have been to the moon? And my heart broke. And when I said 0, she said, that is illegal. That has to be illegal. So my hope is that the next generation of women don't have to sit and wonder, why has there never been a woman in these positions, in these places? And you have all really inspired us, I think, to walk away, kick open some doors, right? Lend a hand. I loved what you said about reaching out, pulling women up. Let's do that. Let's leave here energized to do that. That's what tonight's all about. Thank you so much for being here. Please stay in network. Please stay and make a contact that you'll stay with. And to our panel, amazing. So amazing. Thank you.